Mr Speaker, it's a pleasure to stand and speak at the first reading of the Electoral Amendment Bill and to follow from previous speakers. What impresses me about this bill, Mr Speaker, is the amount of and the high degree of consensus. I happen to come from the school of thought that says that when we are making changes in constitutional, jurisdictional and electoral matters, that there should be that high degree of consensus. I'm also, Mr Speaker, one of those ones that was really fortunate and lucky enough to sit in on the Justice and Electoral Select Committee when it was actually so-called hearing submissions on the infamous Electoral Finance Act, and the degree of memory lapse from members of the other side is astounding. But typical, absolutely right, it is typical. And actually, Mr Speaker, I took the opportunity to read the minority report on that, which we wrote several years ago, and just as an example, members of that committee received a paper at 9:05 a.m. for discussion at 9:30 a.m. Now that, Mr Speaker, was a total abuse of the democratic process. There was no opportunity to read the document before the discussion took place. Now, Mr Speaker, we've heard criticisms of this bill because of what it doesn't contain. And again, the short memory loss of the other side is astounding. Now, we know that some parties may want a different threshold for MMP. That's fine, but there was no consensus reached on that. Actually, on the other side of the coin, Mr Speaker, some wanted a proper discussion on the closure of the electoral rolls. So not everybody got what they wanted, Mr Speaker, but what we have is a consensus, it is a compromise, and I believe that for the confidence that the public can have in our system, that consensus is vital, Mr Speaker, and I am pleased to support it. I know that the previous speaker talked about cynical manipulations and no genuine regard for democracy. Well, Mr Speaker, if that was the case, then with the numbers across the House, then the bill might have been in a different form. But the importance and the emphasis, Mr Speaker, must be on consensus in relation to electoral matters, and I believe that we have got that across the House, and I think it is trivial point scoring to try and criticise either the process or the fact that this has got the barest of changes. There has been some considerable discussion, as Mr Little knows, through the Select Committee process to actually achieve that consensus. Mr Little didn't get the changes that he necessarily wanted. We might not have got the changes that we necessarily wanted either, but that is the genuine nature of consensus. And, Mr Speaker, I do think that we have got a bill here that is pragmatic, that will improve the efficiency of voting, it will improve the services to voters, candidates and parties, and it will improve the integrity of our election system. Mr Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
Chris Farfoy.
Mr Speaker, just to